welcome to MGI's review of Modest Magic Gaming Terrain. Alright, so today, essentially, well, technically 2 days ago, I got something shipped in that was really cool. It was a Kickstarter that started in May, I believe, and it's finally, really, rolling, and everything's shipping out, and it is this stuff right here. Let me just... that. I know the lighting is not great right there, but oh well. Alright, so what is this stuff? It's essentially little bricks that come in sprues like this, and you put them together, and you make a castle. So you're thinking, okay, that's pretty cool. Well, I don't think you quite understand just how much of this stuff you actually get in a castle set. Now, I was told that there's actually more of this on the way just for one castle set, and that a little bit of it was actually left out. And let me show you just how much, and some of this has actually been de-sprued, just how much there is. Yeah. And that's not including the 9 or so dungeon tiles, which we'll get to later. So, what kind of stuff is there in this sort of terrain kit? Well, essentially there are several kinds of bricks. There's, your basic normal bricks that go like this. You have your sort of tower edge bricks. Actually, let me show you a little mock model I put together right here. And so those are these right here. They sort of, just pop on. All of this obviously is modular, if you haven't already been able to tell. And right there, I'm not sure if you can see it on the camera, there are door pieces, and I actually love these door pieces because not a lot of terrain does door pieces that are this cool. I don't know, you can actually have a miniature stand in the doorway. I just think that's cool. In any event, let me give you a little bit of a scaling right here, just so you can see about how big these are. Okay, so this is just for scale. As you can see, that's about what a Space Marine, a standard 24mm, 25mm heroic scale miniature would be like. I've also brought in a Reaper miniature. And as you can see, and I'm actually going to take this off just to show you, even on some of the bigger miniatures, they will still fit inside these buildings. So you can have a second floor there, and it will still fit in fine. You couldn't see my hand, but I think you know what I was motioning. Sorry for the shaky camera, also. And that's sort of, a larger kind of Hordes, if you've ever played Hordes, Troll Blood there. And, it just goes to show that even some of the larger miniatures would really work well with this sort of thing. As far as the grid goes, it really is 1 inch by 1 inch, but, it still works, and it still looks really good. There are also, and I gotta show this off because this I love. 1 second. There are also pieces like this, and these he calls dungeon tiles. I'll just sort of put that in the light so you can see it. And essentially, it's just a 1 inch by 1 inch grid. You just put them down, and voila, you've got basically the basing for a 1 inch by 1 inch board, which is great if you play games that, require 1 inch by 1 inch. Not so great if you're, playing 40K where no pre-measuring, but whatever. It's really great, especially if you put a structure on it, because it just kind of gives it a finished look. And we'll talk more about how to get a really good finished look with this stuff. First up, let's talk about the cons of this product, because there are a lot of pros, but the cons sort of come first before you get the pros. So, as I said, they come in sprues like this, and the light's sort of showing through on some of this. And it's really awesome, because you get, a good 32 amount of these sprues that are just bricks. That's, not including the dungeon tiles, not including some of the extra stuff, not including windows, yada yada yada. And it's awesome, but the problem is de-spruing this is a real pain. Not because it's actually difficult. You're never going to ruin your pieces by de-spruing this stuff. I've tried, it's never happened to me. What you will get is, and I'll show you, One is there's a lot of stuff that sort of flakes off, so if you're going to be de-spruing this, make sure it's in an area that you don't want to wreck or get lots of flaky things on. Be prepared to vacuum. Also, this isn't a good example. You sort of get used to how to de-sprue these things really easily after the first, 2 or so sprues. But what does tend to happen, and I've got a perfect example right here, is you get what's called flashing, which is, you may not be able to see it, there's a line right there. And that's not the actual brick, that's just a flimsy sort of piece of the sprue that stayed on. And I mean, this stuff is, I'll show you. It's really easy to take off, you just sort of peel at it. Like, that's how big it was. Not sure if that's getting on camera. And that's how big it is. And it's not so much a problem where, like, once you have de-sprued it, this stuff works phenomenally, but de-spruing it is a real pain. And that's one of the main cons I found. You will need to sit down for a day with this stuff to really de-sprue it. And also, as you can tell, unpainted, I mean, it looks okay, but you really do want to paint this stuff. Alright, let me remove all of this. Alright, let's talk about the pros, because there are a lot of really great pros to this stuff. It's, as I said, I mean, it's customizable. You can have any sort of different settings. And also, it's really, really easy to put together. As you can tell, I just put together a wall piece. It doesn't fit as absolutely as you might expect it to, because as you can see, it can sort of turn this wall piece. Except I sort of like that because, if you're doing, a broken down castle that has, walls turned in on themselves, especially also if you need to do a corner that is like that, it's really useful that, this isn't the only setting you can put it on. Well, I mean, you know what I mean. But for the most part, it stays together really well. I mean, that's not coming off. You can also drop it, and as I said, it still works really well. The other bit is that it's really lightweight. As much as you can tell that this sort of thing, like 120 of these will take up quite a bit of room, it's, one box you could easily lift with one hand. Like, let me show you with this gargantuan pile over here. This whole thing, I mean, I might not be able to do this purely because of balance reasons, but, I mean, that's just really lightweight right there. I'm not even putting any effort onto that. And it's just lifting. I mean, I like that personally because, as someone who's a DM, my biggest problem is lugging around like huge amounts of dungeon tiles from point A to point B and killing my back. But I mean, maybe that's just me. But I thought that was really good that it's lightweight. And it's also pink foam. So that does something that's another layer of customizability, because I wish I had an X-Acto knife on me, but I don't. Essentially, if you want to cut in an engraving or like, some sort of like magical runes into the floor, things like that, it is actually incredibly easy to do that. Whereas, when you're doing with plastic terrain or cardboard terrain, you really can't get that. So I think that's one of the biggest advantages of this sort of cut foam as terrain. Alright, next is the guy who runs Modest Magic, Nick. The Kickstarter was for a CNC machine. He ended up overfunding, so he got an even better CNC machine. And it does show, because I will show you how clear these cuts are, and I'm really, really happy with them. They're really exact. I mean, this is on a professional level. Like, I can't stress that enough. Like, as much as he is independent and he is a one-man corporation, it's really, really professional level stuff. The cuts are really good. These are all flat. I was just all around. I had high expectations, and it, blew my high expectations. Next is some tips about this stuff, because we've already gone over the pros and the cons. As I said, you really want to paint this stuff, because here's kind of what it looks like painted. I didn't paint a whole lot of these because well, we'll get to that in a little bit, why I didn't paint a lot of these. But as you can tell, it looks really good when it's painted compared to, when it's just kind of normal pink foam. That looks like a really finished product, and it's the sort of thing that everyone in your gaming group is going to be like, oh my god, that's so awesome. Except I will warn you, if you have not worked with pink foam before, do not at all ever spray paint this stuff unless it's acrylic spray paint. That's why I didn't do a whole lot of them, because I don't own acrylic spray paint. I'm going to go out and buy some. Just to show you what happens, this is a full brick. This used to look something like this, and it's completely destroyed because of the spray paint. I'm going to see if I can get a better camera angle on that. Yeah. And that, yeah, as you can tell, it's just completely destroyed and dissolved. So do not whatsoever ever spray paint this stuff with normal spray paint. Acrylic spray paint, I'm pretty sure, is okay. I might have gotten that wrong. If I got that wrong, it'll be in a little bar in the video. You'll see that. Alright. So, basically, as far as consensus goes, I mean, I showed you how much stuff you get. That's the cassette. Costs about $100. Yeah, that's a lot of stuff for $100. It's probably, in my opinion, the best bang for your buck as far as terrain goes, in the whole industry. The downside is, again, it comes unpainted, but that's also an upside if you want to, do a different paint scheme. So, some of your bricks are sort of ruined temple, some of them are like regal, imperial court, that sort of thing. So, I think that it's a really good product. If you're a hobbyist, I definitely doubly recommend it in that case. If you're someone who doesn't want to, do a lot of de-spruing and painting, you might want to consider it a little bit less, but I mean, as you can tell, even something like this, where it is pink foam, I mean, that still looks pretty damn good. And, I mean, I was personally really impressed with it, and I liked it. I hope you consider getting it. Nick, the guy who runs Modest Magic, is a great guy. I've been working with him, basically, talking over, what we're getting. He's really friendly, really, make sure that the order is, will fit your needs. So if you say, well, I don't really need a huge wall, but I could use a lot of smaller pieces because I'm building a dungeon, he'll say, okay, let's substitute this, that, and the other. That's the best thing about Modest Magic. If you go on their website, which will be in the link below, they have a sort of custom order section. I'm doing a custom order actually for like a little space station thing. And I think that's definitely where you want to go. So if you're like, oh man, I have this great idea for like a wall piece that has like a turret coming out of it, I don't know. Then yeah, definitely send them an email. I mean, that's definitely where this sort of product shines, is in its customizability. All in all, great product. I can definitely give a recommendation for everyone on this. Check out the website below, and stay tuned for more reviews.